All right. We are here today with Ashley Bell, who's running for state school superintendent. He was out sick with strep throat during the Cherokee County debate, so we are giving him an opportunity to speak to the voters of the state of Georgia, uh, just like his opponents had an opportunity at the Cherokee debate. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up with a 2-minute opening statement and allow him to speak, and then I will ask 6 questions and then a 2-minute closing statement.
Thank you. Thank you. Definitely want to thank everyone who participated in the forum. I very much apologize for not being able to be there. Unfortunately, I had strep throat and you couldn't have understood anything I said anyway. But I appreciate this opportunity. I want to introduce myself. I'm Ashley Bell. I'm from Hall County. I am a former county commissioner. I'm a current charter school chair at our local schools. I've also been a charter school chair of a middle school in our area. This race for me is one that's very personal, one that my wife and I took a long time to decide about where we thought the future of education should go in this state. For 4 years on the county commission, I was a tried and very proven conservative. I took a county commission like every other county commission, much like the one you have in Bartow and in Cherokee counties, that was too big. That we took an opportunity to look at our budget, and I was able to put conservative principles to work and shrink the size of government by 15%. Now that's not easy, folks, but what it does do is it forces you as a candidate, as an elected official, to look at a budget and say, look, here's what we have to do to shrink the size of government. And that's something I've done, and I think that's important to look at candidates' credentials when it comes to what they've done personally. As far as charter schools are concerned, for the last 10 years, a decade, my wife and I have run a nonprofit that has done nothing but lead the way in helping kids find pathways to success. And that for us, that meant we created an academic intervention program that in our first 8 weeks took 48 students who were failing, who were on tracks to not graduate. And we made them all very successful, passing students, and they all graduated. And that's something we've been doing for the last 10 years. And as I joined the charter school in my local community, I realized that choice matters. And hopefully that you see in this election that you have a candidate that has elected official experience, charter school experience, working with teachers in our classroom, making results, and making sure that our children are put first in every way.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that opening statement. First question is, what are your thoughts on Common Core? Are you for or against it, and why?
I'm against Common Core. I think that Common Core is the educational equivalent of Obamacare. I think it's the federal government's best shot at trying to get its arms into the kitchen tables of each family and in the classrooms of every school. I think the federal government should not be involved in our education. I think the federal government should be limited to what the Constitution says it should be limited to. I'm a constitutional conservative and I strongly believe that. But I think we as a state could do better than Common Core. I think the Common Core standards aren't the best we can do, and I think that no Washington bureaucrat can come up with better standards than we can for our own children. And because of that, I'll do everything I can to make sure that every standard that touches our classrooms is made by you, parents, teachers, and educators who know our children, who know our teachers, and who know where we need to be going forward as a state on education. Thank you.
What do you see as Georgia's #1 educational challenge?
We live in a great state where our best and brightest students, you can compare them to the best and brightest in New York or California and they would match up just fine. Our problem is at the bottom part of our students, the bottom third. They're at the bottom and far too often they stay at the bottom. That's what's keeping Georgia behind many of our other states. We have to focus on the bottom third of our students and really figure out what are we doing to really help those students be mobile and get out of tough situations and get on the track to success in our K through 12. And that begins with going beyond the classroom and looking at all the intangible things that we know, you and I know, are the reasons that children aren't succeeding. It begins at home. It begins with parent involvement. There's a three-legged stool to student success. It's got to be quality teachers, strong parental involvement, and student responsibility. And we can work there. As a member of a charter school governing council and chair and I've founded a nonprofit, we focused on nothing but getting those intangibles in place to help students succeed. Whether that's doing a better job of identifying learning disabilities at an early age, making sure that a student in ninth grade is just not for the first time being diagnosed as dyslexic, that maybe that student didn't get the proper diagnosis early, or maybe it's the fact that we have parents who aren't involved. We need to find ways of getting the community involved to help fill in the gap. The answer is not another government program. The answer is not more funding and throwing in education. The answer is at home. And through creating solid, consistent, proven learning support services, we can make sure that that bottom third has the resources they need, someone that can fill in the gap to make sure they can cross that bridge to success.
What will you do to organize the Department of Education to deliver staff development more effectively to teachers?
Staff development is critical. Far too many times we take bad teachers and we put them out to pasture. And we try to say that, this is just a bad teacher and let's try to find a way of getting rid of them. A lot of teachers try, and some, like people, are better than others. What I've been able to see in our charter schools is that when we develop professional learning communities, which are where one good teacher is put in a position to lead other teachers, to help them get into the details of differentiated instruction and teaching them how to teach different kids at different levels in one classroom, those teachers are good. And when you have those teachers put in a position where every week they're teaching and leading their colleagues, making sure that bad teachers don't stay bad, we can raise the bar across an entire school. We've seen it happen. And that doesn't cost you any more money. Many candidates are going to talk about what we have to change as far as funding. And true enough, our teachers do too much with too little. But we have to play to our strengths. We have to look at where we have strong teachers and put them in a position to lead. And those teachers who are put in a position to lead should be tapped for leadership, becoming assistant principals, moving up to principals. As far as organization, we need to use more effectively our RESAs. Our RESAs are regional education centers that are located across the state, comprised of boards that consist of teachers, technical school presidents, superintendents. These RESAs are where teachers learn, but they've fallen short on giving them the proper education to handle the challenges of the day. Far too many times they're out of touch with what's really going on in the classroom. We really need to make sure that more of the bureaucracy leaves Atlanta and is pushed down to our RESAs where they're closer to our schools so that our teachers can use them as a valuable resource in learning and staying on top of the different trends and making sure our best teachers are sharing best practices.
What form of schooling have you chosen for your children and why?
As a small child, I grew up kindergarten through second grade in a private school. And I think it was good for me because my parents wanted me to have a strong Christian-based education. And I appreciate it. It served me well. My children all attend public school. I have two children. They attend public school, but that's a choice that we chose. And our public school system is a charter school system, one that I chair the governing council. But I think the beautiful thing about public schools, private schools, charter schools is that there are many choices for parents, and that is what we need more of. The competition between the schools, competing for parents' trust that they can send their child there and get a great education, that's what we have to increase. The more options, the better. I think we have to keep making sure that it's very simple to get a homeschool education. Many of our homeschool parents are doing a great job, and we have to do everything we can to protect their ability to continue to homeschool their kids. And as well as private schools, we have to make sure that private schools are always available, and if they're better than public schools, make sure that there's avenues there for kids can leave a failing school and be able to go to a good school, no matter if it's public or otherwise.
Georgia has 3 ways to complete high school: a diploma, a certificate, and a special education diploma. Do you support adding a 4th option, a technical education diploma? Why or why not?
Well, I think currently there's a trend going to where we're trying to create more career paths for our high school graduates. There's over 30 some odd career paths that a student should be able to pick from, and hopefully every student in this state at some point will be able to choose one of those career paths to graduate and have that as a part of their repertoire, whether it's agriculture, whether it's technology, health science, hospitality. Now, everyone knows that no 14-year-old knows what they want to do when they grow up, but having that myriad of options before them so they could take 2 or 3 classes and get a taste of what the real world is like, that's a good thing. In my charter school, we had a young girl who just was about to graduate, She's done 7 career paths already. Now that doesn't mean she knows which one she wants to do as an adult, but she does have a lot of experience doing a lot of different things. Career paths are a great way for students to get a taste of different careers. And what really enhances them is when they're coupled with technical schools. When they're coupled with great schools like Lanier Tech and Moultrie Tech and all these different schools where students can learn long distance, from teachers that aren't in their high school, but teachers who have a very unique experience and work experience dealing in different varied fields. So I support career paths. I support the fact that we give our students more options and they can get a taste of different things. It makes them more well-rounded, and I think it puts them on a path. So when they graduate, they can take that career path and know a little bit more about the real world and be ready to go when it's time to leave high school.
A lot has been said about attracting great teachers. But what are your plans for the other 50% of the state employees, such as the support staff and non-certified people, such as bus drivers, lunchroom attendants, janitorial, parapros? They also teach our children.
Learning is a community endeavor, and every school is elementary, high school, is much like a college campus. There's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. You want to make sure that every piece of that puzzle is valuable to your child's education, is qualified, and can bring something to the table so that we know that they're adding a value to education. No matter if that's a bus driver, no matter if that's a paraprofessional, or even if it's just a graduation coach. All those positions need to be sought after, and we need to find the best and brightest. But I think the key always has to be our teachers. We always have to make sure that the people who are responsible for education are paid appropriately and are paid according to the value they bring. I look forward to a day when we can take a teacher who's good at what he or she does and pay them for success and make sure that their work is compensated appropriately instead of just paying teachers just on the fact that they've been there for years. I think that is going to be the way we create more competition amongst teachers, and I wouldn't be opposed to that same competition going for support staff as well. I think competition in this country is great no matter what your job is, whether it's competition amongst parapros or other staff at the school. As long as we have a means of testing people and knowing that they're being evaluated on their skills, and if they do a good job, that they should be rewarded, I think that's what's going to drive success, and that's what's going to get us off the bottom rung.
Okay. Well, that is the end of the questions, so I'll give you 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank you for this opportunity. It means so much to be able to talk to all of you. You know, the campaign is bigger than any one person. It's about the future of our children. And I think as you decide which candidate you think is most appropriate to take the office of Georgia's next state school superintendent, I'd like to offer you this. You need someone who has been at the helm, been in elected office, who's taken the oath and had to abide by the Constitution, abide by the rules, and do their best to implement conservative values. It's enough to just talk about it. But what have you done to make sure the conservative principles are enacted in your positions that you've been in before, as well as a genuine understanding and love for what goes on in the classroom? At 24 years old, my wife and I started a youth leadership organization in our high schools, dedicated solely to helping people graduate, helping young people graduate who might not have otherwise. For the last decade, that has been our life. And as charter schools became the new choice as far as public schools are concerned, we began to get involved there. In running a charter school as a chair of a governing council for the last 2 years, I can tell you that teachers, parents, and business leaders need to be at the table. And we need someone who's been at the table with those 3 elements: the business community, parents and teachers, and administration, and seen those decisions, the tough decisions that have had to be made, and been able to make them and look at a child and say, today we made a good decision that's going to help you succeed in life. And that's why I'm running, so that I can tell that story to every parent and say that together, every day, we made the next day better and gave every child a better chance to succeed.
All right. Well, we thank you, Ashley Bell, for taking the time out and doing this interview. And we just like to thank everybody who's watching this here on GeorgiaPolitics.org.